What's it like living in the BullStreet District in Columbia, South Carolina? Whether you're here for baseball games at Segra Park, dining at Iron Hill Brewery, and so many more, or living in a residential development that's almost doubled in value since it got started here. That's right, all that and so much more as we dive into what is considered the largest city development east of the Mississippi. Welcome to the BullStreet District. Alright, as I said, in this video we're going to be touring the BullStreet District. For those not familiar, this is a 181-acre development right in the heart of Columbia, minutes from the state capitol. And I'll talk about what this used to be because this is a massive transformation. But it has a lot to encompass. You're talking about restaurants, shopping, and even living that we'll talk about later, from apartments to some upscale residential that have almost doubled in value, like I said, since they started. That there's opportunity still growing here. But we're getting kicked off before that right here at Iron Hill Brewery. So Iron Hill Brewery, this is not a local brewer, but they came to this area not too long ago. Really good food and drinks. We come here often right before baseball games because I'll show you in just a little bit. We'll walk over there. The baseball stadium is right around the corner. And as a little pro tip for those that haven't been, so they have their little King of the Hill Club, they call it, where for 20 bucks you join the membership, and one of the cool things is when you order a beer, you get it in a larger stein that says you're a member, but also you earn points. And so once you earn 200 points, you get 20 bucks back in credit. So it almost pays for itself because obviously, as you can imagine, you can spend that 200 bucks pretty quick. Otherwise though, we're gonna continue walking on, and as you can see over here, Starbucks that was added as well recently. So you got a Starbucks in here, and as we come around this corner, we'll be pulling up to what is an REI. So REI, like I said, shopping, and there's plans for more shopping, and later on I'll talk to you about the future growth, what they have plans for, because obviously this is a long time development. And let me give you a backstory of this. So prior to this used to be the state hospital. That's right on these grounds was the state hospital. And to be 100% honest, we moved here, we saw it, part of it was the state mental health hospital. A lot of people used to talk about that, and it was pretty creepy when we first moved here because there was just a bunch of abandoned buildings. Because as you can imagine, you know, during the 1900s, the state mental health systems lost funding. And so I don't remember the exact year, but essentially they got the state hospital was done, finished. And the buildings sat here for a long time before they were purchased. And a lot of them were crumbling down. There was fires at some of the building. So it was pretty creepy, and it was always like, this would be a great place for a haunted house, right? And so either way, it was purchased, and they announced this massive development coming. And the first thing that was built was the baseball stadium that we'll talk about in just a little bit as we head over that way. But obviously this has been a big project that's going to continue for years to come. But there's a lot obviously here already, so much more than obviously years ago when I first talked about this development. As you can already see, all of this stuff, a lot of this was just torn down, nothing around, parking structures, living. Again, we'll talk about pricing and all that just a little bit when we get over that way. But so either way, for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Brandon. My team and I of local real estate agents have truly been helping people from all over the country relocate right here to the Midlands of South Carolina, Lexington, Columbia, and the Lake Murray area. And we'd love to help you too, so don't hesitate to reach out. That way you don't have to go at this alone. But so either way, continuing on about this area is, again, this is a long-term growth project, and we're coming up here to Segra Park, so I want to talk about that a little more. And so this is really cool to us because going backwards, again, for those first time watching, my wife and I originated in California, born and raised there. And we grew up, you know, going to Dodger games every year. It was kind of a family tradition. And so when we moved here, you know, you always want to kind of carry on family traditions to your own kids as you have kids. And there's, many of you know, there's no major league teams, baseball teams right here in Columbia, right? Closest is going to probably the Atlanta Braves. And so either way, 2016 was opening day at the Firefly Stadium. So my wife and I actually came for opening day. We didn't have kids then, it was just us, but we came for opening day of Fireflies baseball. And to give you an idea, their minor league baseball team, when they first got started, they were part of the New York Mets. But a couple years ago, it switched over and now they're Kansas City Royals. And I'm gonna have to check my notes on this because, to be 100% honest, as much as we love watching baseball, I don't know all the ins and outs of it. But to give you an idea, they say it's a single A affiliate as part of the Carolina League. So going backwards though, there used to be a baseball team here in Columbia, Capital City Bombers. She tried to make a video over at the stadium. Just tons of traffic, it was hard to do. It's an abandoned stadium now. They keep saying they're gonna tear it down, they haven't yet. But so either way, that team transferred up to Greenville many years ago. And so there was no baseball here for a long time. I mean, don't get me wrong, you have the Lexington, you have the Blowfish. I always have to think, and Hootie and the Blowfish. If you didn't know, the lead singer, he went to college here at USC, but either way, the Blowfish over in Lexington. So there are kind of more of a farm league. But so either way, outside of that, it was really exciting when Seger Park came. And so like I said, every year we make an effort to come out here. Now we come with the kids. Our favorite is sitting in the berm. That's our little pro tip. It's like $6 a ticket. And it's a grass field, so the kids can run around. You don't have to worry as much. And we're walking up to it right now. And again, the kids can run around, have a good time. They even have days where you can bring the dogs out. We haven't done that yet. We're gonna do it this year. By the time you watch it, we might have already done that. But always a good time. Like I said, we grab food because as you can see, it's a short walk over here. And there's another place we're gonna talk about. But before we do, down here, I wanna talk about what's down here. And I'm not gonna walk all the way down here to save time, but let me dive into what's down there and then we'll circle back around to the continuing on and some of the living places as well. We get kicked off with the first residential spot. And this one's a little bit different than the rest because it is senior living. We're talking about Merrill Gardens. Merrill Gardens, they say you'll be able to dream bigger. Right outside the door, there's some more that we'll talk about in just a minute, but Merrill Gardens at Columbia offers vibrant, connected senior living with a month-to-month rental option to give you freedom and flexibility. Located in downtown Columbia's largest urban redevelopment site and close to everything you need. The best part is Merrill Gardens has the chores and caretaking covered so you can keep living life on your own terms, not someone else's. And again, as I said, right outside the door, another highlight of this area is the green space that they did. And this one is a Page Ellington Park green space. It says everywhere you walk in Bull Street will be stone's throw away from green space and the great outdoors. Have a tranquil moment by the water, picnic under the shade, canopy tree, bring your dog to the park or take a jog under our newly paved pathway. Bull Street's newest amenity invites you to rediscover recreation, every single acre of it. This 20-acre park named for Page Ellington, a self-taught African-American architect and builder, features a 2-acre pond, the newly daylighted and restored Smith Branch Creek, a fenced dog park, ample green space for hours of recreation. Page Ellington Park joins Columbia SC's ever-expanding list of beautiful locations to enjoy the outdoors all year round. It's time to play. As well, right behind the park is going to be the recent announcement of the expansion and moving of the University of South Carolina's Health Science Campus. The initial stage of the Health Science Campus will include medical education building to house the School of Medicine, Columbia, and a multidisciplinary research building. Together, the two buildings will provide an estimated 292,000 gross square feet. Current plans call for construction to begin in 2025 and completed in 2027. It is also conveniently located across the street from Prisma Health, the local teaching hospital. And obviously another benefit for district living is that the proximity to multiple healthcare systems in downtown Columbia, specifically Prisma Health, right across the street from this development. And the last thing we'll talk about on this side is the Central Energy event venue. Central Energy is Columbia's most vibrant and versatile downtown event space, featuring over 8,000 square feet, modern, aesthetic, and unique indoor-outdoor social areas. Formerly the Central Power plant for the old SC State Hospital, our historic building has been carefully restored to be a thriving community hub and venue for a wide range of occasions. All right, so as we continue on, again, we'll get to more of the apartments and the actual residential living in just a little bit here. And as well, I'll show you the map of what the future of this is gonna look like. So you can see, as you can tell, there's still a lot of it under construction. But picking back up with Seger Park and the Fireflies, they do a ton of other events here as well besides the baseball. But before I button up the baseball, I do wanna say tons of events at the games, right? They did a Paw Patrol night. This year they have a Bluey night, all these cool events. They do fundraisers. It's really a good time, like I said, coming out. But another place over here is Publico. So this opened up, obviously another convenient location right here that you can grab some food, some drinks before the game and walk into the game. Now I'm gonna be 100% honest, we haven't been to this one yet. We will, I promise you that. But this one is actually originated in Five Points and is considered one of the top restaurants in Five Points. And so they opened up a kitchen tap and social right here outside of the stadium. So again, we will definitely be checking this out. But we've done Iron Hill Brewery a bunch of times. But either way, we're walking into more of the district that is a lot more to do with businesses. As again, this was coined as kind of that shop, live, play, work, where basically if you live in here, ideally in the end of it, you won't have to leave. You can go to your job here, you can play, go grab dinner, shopping, things like that. Like I said, the main shopping right now is at REI, but we'll talk about that more later. But so here is this work spot, one of the first ones. We'll talk about another one here in just a minute. And one of the biggest announcements that came to here was, I'm gonna turn this around so you can check it out, is the Scout Motors. So if you've been watching me for a long time, you know that Scout Motors announced that they're building their facility to build the Scout EVs in Blythewood. Well, they announced recently as well that they're gonna be doing their corporate offices right here in the BullStreet District, and these offices here. So obviously super exciting for the growth. I've told you before, I've already talked to a couple people taking jobs here, whether they're working at corporate or gonna be working at the plant. So that's another big thing here is that. Also, there's a ton of other companies that do live here and exist in here as well, technology companies and things like that. But obviously that's the big one that a lot of people talk about. But you can see one of the apartment complexes that I'll talk about in just a minute right behind me under construction. Far end of it, people have already started moving in. And obviously convenient right across them. Imagine some of these buildings on the end, you could probably see the stadium. I'm not positive, I haven't been up to the top from them, which would always be really cool. But as we kind of round this corner, we're gonna be heading over to where another complex is, but there's another spot right up on the past this parking lot I wanna show you, talking about more work in the facility. But you can see the baseball stadium again, right over here. They do fireworks. And so a lot of people say that living here, obviously you get the fireworks show every time they do a fireworks show. But either way, let me circle back around. So over here, these buildings, and we'll walk to them and then we'll head over to those residential areas I was talking about and dive into those. So they got some companies over there, but they also got, I forget what they call it, it'll come to me in just a minute, but they're work from home places, co-op spaces, I guess is the best way. So basically, we went toward them at one point with their office, but basically they're a bunch of offices and you can pay to rent the common space, you can pay to rent an office. So those that work from home remotely, but need a place to come work, or even those that run businesses and need an office, you can come do that. So again, that was the whole concept of this place, was to be work, live, play, all in one location. But either way, we're coming up here to the residential. So I'm gonna turn this around to show you some of the development that's happening and show you some of these buildings, because a lot of it, like I talked about, was the old hospital. And so they tried to keep the aesthetics of it, right? Some of the buildings obviously weren't salvageable. They were torn down and started over. But some of the other ones, they were to kind of gut the inside, rebuild them. And so you still have that architecture. And one of them you probably saw in the beginning, the Babcock building, and we'll talk about that on the top, the dome up there. That was a big ordeal to save that, so they refurbished it, put it back on the top, and that was kind of like the landmark of, hey, you know, the Babcock building is back. But like I said, I'm gonna turn this around to show you these buildings so you can see the architecture of this place and how they've just maintained it. And so this is one of the work from home places right over here on this side. Old kind of style buildings. And this one they're still working on, as you can see, the laundry at BullStreet and restaurant, brewery, retail, creative office. Again, this concept is just phenomenal. As you can see, this whole place of what they created here, especially knowing what it started at. Those have been here for years that saw everything falling down. And so that's why when we stop by this residential, you'll kind of understand, you know, the desire for it. And obviously when it first got started, talk about pricing, it was like, well, there's not much here. But knowing what's coming, I think that's why a lot of people banked on it. And that's why those values have risen the way they have, is just because, you know, once this is all said and done, it's gonna be such a desirable place to live. If you can see that vision, even through some of the construction, then you know what's in store. Because I know this is something that a lot of people desire across the country, is where can I live, where I can walk to everything. You know, this is one of those places right here. Now, of course, with that said, there's no schools right here in the facility, because I know that's the next thing people are gonna ask is, oh, where are the schools at? They're not right here in the facility, but obviously everything else, ideally with time, will have that. And we're pulling up to some of the residential spots, so I'm gonna dive into, again, what it costs to live here in the BullStreet District. All right, so let's talk about living at the BullStreet. What it costs to actually live right here and be able to walk to everything that I just showed you that it has to offer. And before we dive into ownership and these places that sit right behind me, let's talk about rentals. And I get asked about this a lot. We do not currently have a property management division at the Brandon Guerin team. And currently the rentals here are gonna be all apartments. And for those not familiar, the apartments actually have their own on-site property management division. And so you're gonna be working directly with them. And then again, like I said, after we'll dive into the ownership, but I will give you pricing of what I could find, as well as the information about these apartments for those that are considering renting. And I'll give you a great resource, apartments.com. I know when we relocated here, that's what we used, because we did rent an apartment before we bought our first house. And so it's a great resource, and that's where I got this pricing from, because a lot of their websites don't actually give the pricing. But either way, we're gonna get started off with the first complex that took ownership, and that was the Babcock building. And their site says these luxury apartment complexes are housed in one of Columbia's most iconic buildings. Located in the heart of the BullStreet District, the Babcock offers city living with green space and apartment homes that blend historic charm and modern features. The landmark Babcock building is being renovated into luxurious studio 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments featuring modern amenities such as granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, washer and dryers, and refurbished historic windows. Indoor amenities include several relaxing resident lounge areas, a game room, a yoga studio, and more. And on apartment.com, I could find a 1 bedroom, 1 bath unit listed for $1,265 a month. Next, we're going to talk about the Bennett at BullStreet. Now, this says it was expected in spring of 2024, but I do see on their site that there are some active and available now, and the rest will be continue to be built. Again, the Bennett at BullStreet, according to their site, will feature 269 Class A units with a 5,000 square foot upscale clubhouse and fitness center, including a separate yoga and spin area. In addition to a resort-style saltwater pool with sun deck, an outdoor spa, you'll enjoy courtyards with grills and fire pits and a rooftop deck amenity. The project will incorporate energy efficiency, water conservation, resource conservation, and improve indoor quality into the community. Bennett at BullStreet will offer everything you expect in luxury living with retail and restaurants right outside your door. And as you saw, as I was doing the walkthrough, these are right across the street from Segra Park. On apartments.com, their listings range from available now to what looks like next year. It looks like there was a typo, because it actually said January of 2099, which would be crazy. So I think it was a typo in assuming next year, but I could find a studio from $1,340 a month to $1,490 a month, a 1 bed, 1 bath from $1,724 a month to $1,986 a month, 2 bed, 2 bath from $2,197 a month to $2,904 a month, and a 3 bed, either 2.5 or 3 bath from $3,100 a month to $3,382 a month. Now let's talk about the Midtown at Bull. It says it's expected in fall of 2024. The Midtown at BullStreet, as you can see, is currently under construction. Their site says it will feature 90 attainable rental apartments consisting of 18 2-bedroom townhouse units, 72 1, 2, and 3-bedroom garden-style units. On-site amenities will include a community room, computer center, exercise room, playground, and gazebo. With this community being within 100 yards of Segra Park, Midtown at Bull residents will have the opportunity to not only walk to enjoy the game, but also have the potential to work in the same community where they live. At this point, I'm not finding anything available in pricing, so keep an eye out for that if you're considering that. Now, let's dive into what stands behind me. The Town Park at BullStreet. Luxury townhomes right here in Columbia, South Carolina. So according to their site, BullStreet's first for sale residential project was the Town Park at BullStreet. It offers Originally 28 sleek modern townhomes with a contemporary vibe, each with its own garage and rooftop terraces, conveniently located along Calhoun Street. You can actually enjoy watching summer fireworks shows from your private rooftop garden, because to give you an idea, the park is literally just on the back side of the camera. I can see the outfield off in the distance and the Segra Park scoreboard sign. Either way, they have the private rooftop gardens, cooking in your modern kitchen, or working with high-speed gigabit internet. Leave your car in your garage and walk to meet friends for dinner, or attend a tech lecture at your neighborhood co-working space. At BullStreet, you'll experience urban living in a modern new residence. They already have sold out just about 5 phases of these townhomes, with the 6 under construction now, and there's a wait list for it. But I could currently find 2 active units. Fortunately, we're not going to be able to tour these today. These are not my listings. It looks like they're listed by the Moore Group. But with that said, let me give you details of the 2 units that I could find on our MLS at this time. 24 square foot, 4-bedroom, 3-bath townhomes, currently listed for $694,900. Again, to give you an idea, when these first launched in 2020, there wasn't much development around. And so a lot of people thought it was crazy to move into these townhomes, with much of it still under construction. Obviously, there's still growth as we talk about this today. But back then in 2020, they were selling for $379,900. Those were some of the smaller units. But obviously you can see where that price point is now. And there's some now that have sold as high as $737,625. Again, they're taking reservations for phase 6. And so don't hesitate to reach out if you want a private tour of these last 2 in phase 6 before they sell out, if you are considering right here in the BullStreet District living. All right, and obviously one of the biggest questions, what does the future of the BullStreet District look like? This map here sits out at the facility. Now, it does say it was as of September 2021. I don't see an updated one on the site. So we're going to run through these things to help you learn about what's coming to the BullStreet District. Obviously, some things that are already being developed or underway that we know about: the University of South Carolina Health Science Campus, Page Ellington Park I talked about, Merrill Gardens Active Senior Living, Segra Park with the baseball stadium, Enzer Building, that's where the restaurant space is that I talked about right outside of the BullStreet District, the first base building I talked about where Scout was going to be there. Now, a big one I don't want to miss out that does sit right here in this as well is a 14 billion global tech giant with 200,000 employees and 40 offices worldwide. Gemini sits right there at the first base building. You'll see their sign as you sit there at the stadium, and it says the firm serves a variety of Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 clients right there from its beautiful modern office space in the first base building. The West Lawn, so this one is currently under construction. You might have seen it earlier on in the video. It says office and ground floor retail space. Future retail focused development. You see retail, hotel, office, and residential. It's going to be right there in the front of the space. This one currently sits there, Department of Health and Environmental Control Headquarters, that's there. The Badcock Building, that's the one I was talking to you about originally, the apartment units. The future commercial and residential development. As you can see, there's quite a bit of those spaces throughout the entire area that continue to be residential commercial spaces. Town Park at BullStreet that we talked about, phase 1 and 2 complete, 9 units. Again, this is actually past phase 1 and 2 now. Now they're on to phase 6. Parker Annex office, home of SCDNR, sits right behind that. BullStreet Tech Village, that's where that co-op workspace was I was talking about. Central Energy, the event, concert, and actually there's a church that uses it. And then again, as you can see, future commercial residential development. And so that's what they keep talking about. As you can see, this space will continue to fill in over the years. Super excited for everything it has to offer, from working, living, and playing right here at the BullStreet District in Columbia, South Carolina. For those of you that are still learning about the area, you'll want to check out this playlist here. These are actually some driving tours I've done in the entire area, including the Columbia area. So you can see proximity-wise where this relates to everything. But I do also drive through Lexington, Chapin, Northeast Columbia, and so many more, so you can learn more about the area. And of course, don't hesitate to reach out if you're new to this and you want to take a self-guided tour. We have some great tips and advice we can give you as you learn more about this area.